3.3, View, Resolver, and Display. Yeah. So we will look at two topics. The first one, View Resolver configuration. It is very simple, yeah, but we need to look at that first. Second, display model data in a view page. Also very simple, but we will look at that, how to do it. Yeah. So let's start. Yeah. So look at the view, types of views in Spring MVC, mainly JSP views. So most of the views people use JSP views, but there are also some other types, less frequently used, but still sometimes we may need to use PDF views, Excel views, other types, all supported by Spring MVC. Locations of the views, the physical location. I mentioned that before, the physical location. So for best practice, so this part I need to explain a little more. Why the best practice in this way? The reason is simple. The JSP views are physically located in this special folder. Although, if you like, you can change to different folders. But the designers, they feel, so this is the best place. So it is recommended to put in this location. Why? Some reasons behind it. Only the components, because this folder is very special in Java EE. It has a special property. The property is this: only the components within the web application can access everything inside this folder, or we call it internal access. Only internal access allowed. What do you mean internal accesses? So the components within the same web application. Internal with respect to the current web application. Okay? So you have a folder, right? So the resources inside the current web application are protected by the container, protected from outside environment. The reason is simple. So you don't want, anything outside this web application to change, modify content in that web application. All right, so that's the internal access. But what is the external access? Very simple. External, that's the client. So outside people, how to access the resource inside that web application through URLs. Outside people in a web browser type URLs to access the resources inside that web application. That's the external access. External access not allowed for everything inside this folder. That's simple. Why we want to protect? Why we want to put the JSP pages in this folder to protect it? The reason, the next point, that's the we look at the reason. Force the users to access view pages through controllers. That's the reason. The users can only access views through controllers, not through URLs directly, because there is a URL way to reach the one of the JSP pages inside that folder, but the server will block it. Okay, yeah. The reason, okay? The view pages are usually associated with the model objects. Model data. Model data stored, organized for the presentation in the view pages. But we know the model objects are prepared in the controllers. If you bypass, or if the users bypass the controllers and go to the view pages directly, then the model objects will not be prepared, will not be available. Okay? So you display, the view pages are displayed without model data. We don't like that happen, right? Yeah, the Spring designer, they don't like that happen. So that's the reason they force the user to use the right way to access the views. So that's the reason. See, that's the reason. That's the background. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. So that's the views. Resolving views. Okay, yeah. Mapping rule, the next resolving views mapping rule, very simple. Okay, I explained in the previous video, logical name and the physical name do the mapping. Yeah. Yeah. The specific way in this, like this. Okay, so you define another being, another resource. But this time you use a special Spring class, internal resource view resolver. Yeah. When you use this class configuration, you specify property prefix, okay, that location, suffix, extension part. Yeah. So that's the typical way we set like that. Yeah. All right, yeah. Then the mapping is established in this simple way. Yeah. Later, you can imagine if we want to change this part, very easy. Yeah. In this file, this being, we just modify it to the new location. Then we're done. Okay. Yeah, so you can see this logical name way is more efficient. Yeah. All right. So as an example, in our hello Spring example, welcome. So this is the logical name. To physical, so this is the physical. Based on the rule, prefix, suffix, yeah, the middle part, right? So the logical name part, right? Yeah, so simple, so straightforward, yeah. So that's the view resolver, okay? All right. Here at this point, so I just make a comment. You can see in our simple example like this, so simple, hello, Spring, you just see one line, yeah. Hello, Spring, then display the current date. So simple, but you can see we need to do a lot of configurations. Here, there, several places. So this tells you one simple fact. Yeah. In the old version Spring MVC, a lot of configuration work. That part is the hardest. Yeah. Developing, write a Java code, that part not that hard, but configuration part, usually the developers, they need to spend a lot of time study and get used to it. Yeah. So another view on this thing, complicated configuration, this kind of thing, this should be simplified. The configuration part of that old Spring MVC way should be greatly simplified. So for that reason, the new way, annotation way, is created. Yeah. You will see this configuration is simplified a lot, but you will see still a lot of rules you need to learn. Yeah, the whole thing is not easy because you need to learn all those rules. Yeah. All right, so let's go to the next topic. Display model data in view page. Yeah. Here we only have one piece model data. So it is very simple. Yeah. So in the welcome.jsp page, now, that simple, the model data part is here. Yeah. Here we only look at this model data. The other part's trivial, right? Yeah. All right, so first, the data comes from preparation in the controller. Remember this line, key value pair, okay? So here, this part corresponds to the key part, date. You refer to the name you used when you do the preparation. Yeah. All right. Second, this expression we called this dollar curly braces, then some reference name, so we call this EL, expression language. Expression language. Yeah. So that background, so we learned in CS 4010, yeah, some of my 4010 students, yeah, so they should know that. Yeah. But some students, I hope you heard of this EL. Yeah, so usually people just call EL. Okay, yeah. So that's a big topic, a lot of things. Yeah, yeah. But here I cannot. I do not have the time to explain the background of EL, but it's so easy to use. Yeah. So later, sooner or later, I just give you some basic explanations. So there, you will be able to use EL easily. Yeah. Here, to use it, dollar curly braces. So we know the data piece we want to use, that object has the name called date. Now, we just use this expression and put in our JSP, then the content of the data will be displayed right here as a string. Yeah. Converted to a string. Yeah. So you may wonder, because it is a date object, right? Yeah, originally it's a date object. So here you just print out content of the date object. Don't worry, when you use EL to display any object, Java object data, the string value will be used for the display. The object has an internal conversion method, toString. Remember, each object has a toString method. Okay, .toString method. Yeah, that method is called to give you the string value here. Yeah. All right, so that's the background. Yeah. Next, yeah. Another thing, this object is stored in a request scope. Yeah. Yeah. This is another concept we learned in CS 4010 request scope. There are 4 scopes, JSP scopes. The first one, smallest page scope, second request scope, third one session scope, the last one application scope. From the name, you know the scope, the meaning of the scope. Request corresponds to HTTP request. HTTP request. Okay, so send a request, response. You have one communication cycle. So the request scope data only available in that one communication cycle. When you start a new communication cycle, this data will be gone. The data stored in the request will be gone. Okay? Because you start a new request cycle. Okay? Yeah. Here, by default, the model object stored in a request scope. That means you can only use your model object in the current request response cycle. When you start a new request, then the old data all gone, old model data gone, and you need to prepare new model data for the new request, and so on. Okay, so that's the background. Yeah, hope you get used to this part, because this part is also very important for our understanding. Yeah. All right, so let me finish my video 3, B.3 here.